There we go. We're recording now. So I can only see you. Is that normal? Hi, everybody. We're just talking, Ann and I, of how to do this. Okay. We're going to give it a couple more minutes just for people's sake. And how many people do we have?
33.
Okay.
36.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being patient while we wait for more people to come. Oh, okay. All right, Ann, what do you think?
The waiting room is quiet and has been for about a minute.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you think?
Sure, we can
Okay.
probably get started. I'll just let people in.
Okay. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me and Ann today. Ann's going to be in charge of admitting people in, and she's going to be monitoring the chat. It's kind of nice that we're coming up with this hybrid 2.0. The building has been very, very, very quiet without kids in it. And really, honestly, we're looking forward to Monday with like half of everybody coming back. It'll be nice to have people in the building again and kids to just say hi to and good morning to. So our agenda is the following. We're going to talk a little bit about the schedule and why we came up with the schedule that we did, what instruction is going to look like, some student technology needs, and we'll probably really want to talk about attendance. We want to talk about Wednesdays. We want to talk a little bit about mask breaks because that's a change. Remote versus a hybrid 2.0. Some reflections, and then a time for questions. So if everybody could just wait until the end, or if you want, just put it in the chat and we'll get to your question at the end. Unless Ann just says this one's on fire, we need to answer it.
Sure.
So first off, the schedule is the following. It's the same remote schedule that we currently have. The reason why we went with this is because twofold. Number one, the kids have been working on this for about 3 to 4 weeks now, and they're kind of used to the timing of it all. So when we're asking kids to zoom into their counterpart for the hybrid model, it feels very normal, like they've done this before. One of the things that we heard from people is lunch was just too short for everybody. And to have 3 lunches was just a little, it was a lot. So we decided to do to get rid of the split lunch. So if anybody's not aware, the 7th graders would go to class, go to lunch, and then finish the second portion of their class. And that just doesn't make a lot of sense unless you have to do it. And Ann and I worked at it. We looked at the cafeteria. There's plenty of room to add another 20, 25 kids in there. And so we broke up the lunch so that half the 7th graders will go to the first lunch, the other half will go to the second lunch. And then we've kept that whole time for cleaning embedded within the periods. So they'll have, between like a 40-minute lesson, they'll have a 10-minute kind of movement break where the teachers can clean for the next class while the kids can maybe socialize a little bit with each other that are in the class, and definitely have an opportunity to move around. I know there's a couple teachers that are getting very interested in like a dance party kind of thing where you just throw it on the smart board and everybody sings along and does the dance moves. It's really kind of cool, to tell you the truth.
And the kids at home will also have a little screen break built in there too.
Right. Okay, how come? Okay, go back. So the question always remained as we started to develop this whole, what are we going to do with kids? How are we going to do it? That big question of how do we support off-cycle hybrid students was always there. It was always in the front of our minds. And we always knew that the challenge was giving kids 3 days of independent work when students are not in person is hard. And it really tries and goes beyond some of our kids' scope of being independent. So, we listened to the survey, and I thank everybody for doing the survey for the first 2 weeks of school. And really that question of how do we support kids really came to the forefront. And we had to figure out, how do we support kids off cycle? And we heard, I really like the 4 days of instruction. I like 4 days where everybody can, and the teachers can move along. And I'm concerned about the amount of curriculum that's going to get taught under this current model. So we went back to the drawing board and we really talked about it. And we just figured that, other districts are trying this. They have different kind of equipment, but I think we have enough equipment within the district that we're going to be able to pull it off, so that we will be able to give kids 4 days of instruction during the week. Kids will come into person 2 days a week with their counterparts, zooming into their classes, and then flip-flopping. For example, on Monday and Tuesday, the cohort A kids will be in, cohort B will zoom in. On Thursday, Friday, it'll switch. And Wednesdays, we're still supporting students remotely. So on Tuesday might be a bigger day where we give kids a little bit longer of a project to do potentially. And that way there is work for them to do. They still will be able to check in with their teachers and really fill in that gap of, I need extra help. How do I get extra help if I'm not here? Like if the teachers are 2 days a week of extra help, they're really only getting 1 day of extra help in person or online. The other half, it just makes sense to me to have that 12:30 to 2 where kids can get the extra help and reach out to their teachers. And so far it's been pretty good with kids reaching out. So what are the benefits? Well, the significant change, the big one is that we get 4 days of instruction. This allows hybrid kids to have that. We can adjust our materials, we can adjust our activities so that whether you're remote or hybrid, you're still going to be getting the same exact curriculum. We're going to have to make a little adjustment to activities and group work and some assessments for in-person learners. But it just, and as far as the teacher perspective, instead of making a lesson plan for the kids in front of you, the kids at home, and then the remote kids, you just have one lesson and you can really move the kids along throughout the year. The beauty of this is that all students are able to remain in the current schedule. So if I am in cohort A and I have period 1 math, I'm going to stay in that period. I'm just going to remote in those 2 periods where the 2 days that I'm off. And we just really like the idea of them having established relationship among their peers in their class. We can retain that relationship. So this is what it currently would look like in a nice graphic where the teacher would be in the front of the class. They would be able to see the students at home and be able to deliver instruction and meet the needs of the kids in front of them, as well as the kids who are doing remote. What does it currently look at like? Well, teachers are still redesigning their rooms. Some equipment coming in tomorrow. It was like in Rhode Island this morning. So the teachers are all getting all their new laptops and all that new equipment. So we should be able to be ready, up and running for Monday. But here's Mr. Waterhouse. This is what he looks like. He's in his front of his class. He is working with the kids in front of him, doing the instruction. He's seeing the kids on that second monitor of what's going on with those kids at home. He's using that computer in itself for the instruction. So if kids are in class and he needs them to zoom in as well, they're able to get that instruction right there on their computers. And we're working on the computers for the kids, hopefully by November. The shipment's supposed to come in. Also, that's Larry. Some teachers don't really want the kids to zoom in their classrooms. They just want to have them in front of them. The only time those kids in front of them would need to be on Zoom is if the teacher decided to do a poll, do a breakout, do a Google Classroom, exit ticket. So we want the kids to still continue to bring in the technology if they have it, but it's not necessarily, we'll work around that if they don't have it. So again, students should be logging into their Zoom class if that's what the teacher wants them to do, just like they've done remote learning. If you're in front of them, if you're at home, you're still gonna remote in. We strongly encourage kids to bring their stuff in, but we've got a backup plan. If they don't have it, the teachers will just have to make those adjustments. And if they could bring in earbuds with microphones, that would be great, because when they go into a breakout room, they're able to talk and listen to their counterpart classmates.
Mr. Gray, I think the district ordered earbuds as well too, correct? Just
Correct.
in case.
Yep, we did put in that order, and hopefully we'll get that with the kids, right? That will probably come in before the computers, I hate to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Attendance needs to be taken daily, every period in every class, both in person and in Zoom. And the Wednesdays are going to check in still at 12:30 because that's been working out really, really well. Attendance has been a little bit of an issue. Anne, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Due to the nature of remote learning, we've been taking attendance every period. Teachers they have like a 10 to 15 minute window to see who's in class. And we understand that there are technology issues. There might be like the dog escapes and there's a little bit of a delay in the kids popping into class. So they've been really understanding about that. It's been a big job. We watch it all day. So now that kids are kind of in the habit of logging on in a schedule, I'm hoping that will be a natural transition when we get back to hybrid, that every day they will still be logging in on at the same times. The auto call went on. So if your child is absent from first or second period at 10 o'clock, you will get an auto call to say, hi, we haven't seen your child online school yet. So, please reach out to us and let us know what's going on, because it also is very important that we know, A, if it's a tech issue, or B, if your child is sick, we need to know that for the nurse as well. So it's really important that the kids are online, do their best to be on time, because we are taking attendance.
Great.
There's a couple questions in the chat before we move on to mask breaks. What are the kids at home going to see on the screen?
So at home, depending on how the teacher sets up that camera, they're either going to just see that teacher, or they might see the teacher in the smart board, or they might see the teacher, the smart board, and some of the students in the class. It just
Right.
depends on how the teachers have set up their rooms.
Right. And they might see a shared, if the teacher is sharing a screen like this with a presentation, they might also see exactly what you're seeing. Will all kids be lent Chromebooks per Mr. Friend's email, even those who did not request them at the beginning of the year?
So we're still under that limited supply. So we are taking requests. We are trying to find solutions to that. But once the shipment comes in, every student will have a Chromebook. It just helps everybody having the same
Technology.
device. So that
Yep.
way we can troubleshoot with the kids if they're having a problem.
We're clear in the chat, Mr. Goyette.
All right. So mass breaks. What we found with mass breaks were, it'd be a 5 minute, let's go outside, let's do a mass break, let's come back in. Then when we listened to the kids and we listened to the parents, it was 50-50. We have too many breaks, we don't have enough breaks. So we're going to try and treat it like bathroom breaks. So if a student needs to go to the bathroom, or if they need a mass break, they just have to raise their hand. They will go out one at a time. They'll be socially distanced outside of the classroom, and we'll have to train the kids to pump out and pump in. So as they leave, they take a little hand sanitizer, and then when they come back, they get a little hand sanitizer. Especially with the winter coming and the weather, we're not going to be able to legitimately take all of the kids out. So we just thought, let's try this. Let's see how this works. We listened to the kids. I don't need as many math breaks. I just want to stay in math, which was shocking when I read that one. So between the schedule, students who are in hybrid students, if they choose to go remote, they can stay in their current classroom and their current schedule. Same thing with the students who are remote and they want to stay remote, they can stay with theirs. The only time we're ever going to change a kid's schedule is if you're a remote student who has the remote schedule and wants to come in for hybrid because that works best for you. They will have to get a new schedule, which is not a big deal. Just overall reflections. We really, I don't know if you've said it to your kids, but oh my God, they have been amazing. The times that they've been in the building, they were great for the first 2 weeks. They wore their masks appropriately. We practiced social distancing as much as we possibly could. The reality is I work in a middle school. I work with middle school students, and they don't have a sense of personal space to begin with. So that was I think probably the biggest challenge. They followed the traffic patterns. They washed their hands, they sanitized their hands. They were really good about lunchtime. We had to give them a little leeway about, sitting forward and eating lunch. And no, that doesn't work. If they turned around to talk to their friends, it was fine. They were far enough away and it was just for a little bit of time. But they did a really nice job. When kids come back into the building, they're coming back the week of Halloween, basically. So we want to try to do some social stuff with the kids. They did like the movie during lunch, so we'll do that. And we have a plan for some activities. And we want to dress up the school a little bit for the Halloween. So that way kids feel like, oh, this feels like school during Halloween. And we'll probably do the same at Thanksgiving and the rest of the holidays. The last thing I ask is patience and time. We're all learning how to do things. I'm learning how this whole Zoom works. You'd think I'd be really, really good at it, but I still stink at it. I'm learning all sorts of new things, like the doorbell. Who knew that there was a doorbell that you could hear and let people in? And please give the teachers time because they're going to get it right. They just need a little time to make it perfect. And especially with the technology, we ordered our technology in July. I know Dan Durgan has asked, what else do we need? We gave him a list, just like every school in America, everybody, tech directors got a list So we're just searching for the equipment that we can get in as fast as we can. I know there was a 2-speaker / microphones for the classrooms that we looked at and tried to get. And unfortunately, the expensive one was available. So that's the one we went with, which is actually the better one, which I was happy that the cheap one was not available. And I just thought I'd just share a little fun video of what happens in a Zoom class that you all have probably seen. Oops.
Can everyone hear me? But we'll try and at least discuss.
Guys, what happened? She left the meeting. Yeah, she left the meeting. It kicked her out the internet. Yeah. You guys see me? All of you guys. I see that there's a little record sign at the top of the screen. So the teacher's recording this. She can watch us and see that we're not behaving. Yeah, I know. And the principal. Yeah, we know. That should be serious trouble. I know, but I'm just muting my mic because I don't want to.
So just a little quick fun video of this. This probably will happen to us at some point. We will probably at some point when it rains in our building, we sometimes lose the internet, and that might happen. You know, and it might happen at your house where, you know, it's a windstorm and a tree comes down and wipes out the wires, you know. So it happens. All you have to do is communicate with us and let us know. And we'll probably communicate overly with you guys about what's been happening in our school. There will be another survey after we have Hybrid 2.0 up and running and seeing how it goes. It was really great that we had so many people fill out that survey and give us their feedback, so that way we could make improvements. And I think we've come a long way. We have a long way to go still. My hope is that eventually we all get back to the regular normal, which is seeing the kids every day, all day. So we'll see what happens, but we really feel confident that this is going to be great for the kids. They're going to get both 4 days of instruction and they get to see people.
From both cohorts.
And cut down on their screen time, which is wonderful. So, questions?
Can a student who decides to stay remote for now switch to hybrid later? And this is not someone who was fully remote from the beginning. So this is a hybrid student staying remote and then potentially switching back to hybrid.
Yes. So if you're in a hybrid class, let me go make sure I got this right. Hybrid class, we're in the remote part. They like it. They want to stay remote, but then they decide, no, I want to go back and visit. Yes, that's an easy change. We can flip-flop the kids. You know, they'll stay in that schedule.
It's just a little trickier when you've been remote from the beginning of the year and want to switch to hybrid. That would require a schedule change.
Right, and the vice versa. You know, if you're a hybrid student that goes remote and you're in the hybrid 2.0 model and it doesn't really work for you and you want to go like to the full remote class, then we're going to have to switch a schedule.
Right.
But
So,
I'm hoping that this hybrid 2.0 really meets the needs of all the kids. They get a little of everything, a little in-face time with their friends, their teachers, and then 2 days of remote where they're just zooming in and everything looks as like they were sitting in a classroom.
okay. In regards to same thing, will full remote students have teachers teaching to only a full remote classroom?
Yeah, right now we have one class per grade level that is full remote. And so that experience is not a lot different. It feels different. It's the same curriculum, it's the same instruction. It just feels different.
Right, but anybody that switches, that says to us by tomorrow, my child is going to stay remote, change from hybrid to remote, those students will have a teacher with students in front of them and
Correct.
online. So
Correct.
the kids that have been full remote from the beginning, it's only a full remote classroom.
Right.
Okay. All right. And there's just one about different platforms. Do you want to take that one? There's just been some confusion about communication online regarding assignments and turn-ins. Some teachers are using Moodle. Others are using Google Classroom, and it's causing a little confusion. Is there any work on unifying the communication methodology?
So yes, the Moodle is definitely causing some angst on everybody's platform. So we're having to work with those teachers that use that as a tool that they've used for years and years and years. It's kind of like you like Crest toothpaste and you use Crest toothpaste for years and years and years, and all of a sudden you got Colgate. And you're like, what happened? So it's just a matter of getting them to change and flip the application that they currently are used to using to something different.
Will the full remote students ever have that option or experience? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Is it the option of or experience of going hybrid? I'm not quite sure. Maybe we get a
But
little
if a
clarification.
remote student who's in the remote class, that's full remote, if they want to switch to hybrid, they can. It's easy.
Any other questions?
So I just want everybody to know I have a beautiful little dog. She's great. She's come to every single Zoom. I silenced her by giving her a little bone, and she actually did it, and she finished it in the time that we started. And there she is now. She's bugging daddy because she wants to WALK and she wants her DANNER. And yes, she knows English. She comes from Tennessee, but she does know English. It's pretty good.
The remote with the new remote model. Oh, okay, clarification on that question. Will the full remotes ever have that option or experience, the remote with the new remote model? So will the fully remote class ever be in a situation where there's kids in front of the teacher and kids on Zoom
No, those kids, we're gonna keep
on the same track?
on the same track. Otherwise, we have to switch people's schedules. And when we say, a schedule's easy to switch it, really, when you really get down to nitty gritties, it's really hard to do. We have to switch all the Google Classrooms. We have to switch all of the iPads and all the grades. And so it's a little more complex. We can do it, but it's just, there's a little more to it.
There's a question about expectation of battery life. Will they be able to charge them? We have ordered extension cords with chargers.
Yeah.
We're making sure that classrooms are outfitted with 1 to 2 of those cords. They have multiple outlets. So yes, there will be charging stations in every classroom.
Mm-hmm. And at lunch, we are probably going to make, well, not probably, we are going to make a recommendation that the kids who are going to go to lunch, plug in their device into those charging stations, go to lunch, then go pick up their device and go to their next class.
Anybody else have any questions that they want to ask? If my child has a laptop, not a Chromebook, can he still use his laptop?
Yes, until we get all the Chromebooks, and then everybody will go switching to the same Chromebook.
Will course be the same as now?
So right now they did the protocol for chorus and band. They are talking about 10 feet away indoors for band with a certain mask and a bell cover. We checked on those. They're about a 2 to 3 week wait out for those to come in. And the DESE still recommends absolutely no indoor singing. So if Jane wanted to take the kids outside 10 feet apart, they could. They just can't do it inside. And as the weather starts to turn cold, I can't see us going outside to do that.
When is the deadline to let you know, and how do we let you know, hybrid or remote?
So if you just email me by Wednesday, so that way I can get that together with scheduling, potentially Thursday and Friday. So Wednesday would be a great deadline. And if you have any questions between now and Wednesday, you can always email me. I do like to return phone calls as opposed to email. So if you just say, hey, Jerry, here's my issue. Can you give me a call and leave your number? I will be calling you back. It's easier. And if I get a lot of them and you see a 401 number come up on this, that's me, because I'll probably use my cell phone.
Okay, and there was one question about band. How do band members at home play with the kids at school?
We're still working on that. That's going to be a little bit of a trick. So that's Mr. Falvo and Miss Dames and I are trying to figure it out as far as how band is going to look. Band is different.
And just in case anybody didn't see the that I chatted, question about laptops versus phones. We definitely prefer laptops to the phone because it's easier for the students to work on a laptop. They can switch back and forth between the Zoom and the Google Classroom. How will the teachers see if the kids at home have a question?
So they're going to use the same tools that they use right now on the remote, using the hand signal, because that's big, bright yellow blob in the middle of your screen. My recommendation is also to assign a kid the chat feature and be able to do that. If there's an IA in the classroom, they'll be watching the chat as well. There's a lot of classes that have instructional assistants in them, so that part will make it a lot easier. But the teachers should be focusing on multiple stuff. You get good at it after a while.
Okay, are the kids in the full remote model and the hybrid model moving at the same pace? And do you anticipate both models will cover the same amount of curriculum?
Yep, absolutely. Teachers are very excited that, 4 days of instruction, one lesson per day. It's really, that was the selling point really to do this, because they didn't have to do this. We asked them to do this and they all said yes. We didn't have a single teacher say no, which was just remarkable and just speaks highly of the staff at the middle school.
Right. They want to see the kids 4 days a week. They want to move forward with the curriculum. And they're willing to take a different type of stress of managing 2 groups of students at once in order to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there thoughts on decreasing screen time for the fully remote students?
So
Hard one.
I think there's 1 or 2 teachers in the middle school that probably need just a reminder that just because you have 40 minutes doesn't necessarily mean you need to take all 40, and to reduce the type of screen time for kids.
Right. We are encouraging teachers to give kids assignments that can allow them to step away from the screen a little bit. I think they're figuring out how to manage that and, get all the kids to come back and things like that. So we are encouraging that. Going once, going twice.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. I know Ann has the high school coming up.
Join us
And
at
remember
6.
that there will be another survey coming out, just asking your opinion. How's Hybrid 2.0 going? How do we make it better? And again,
we really do read your responses.
Yeah. And just I thank everybody for patience and just, being so nice, because this has been just a little crazy. Like I said, I survived earthquakes and wildfires and hurricanes and blizzards. This one may take me out. So, all right, everybody, thank you.
Okay, you can stop recording.
Okay, stop share. End.